Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan, and this is 12 grotesque but hilarious real monsters creatures explored. One of Nickelodeon's finest real monsters is an underrated gem. Klasky Csupo, Inc. developed this iconic cartoon back in the 1990s. For those born in the 90s who weren't lucky enough to catch this show on TV while it was being aired, thanks to several streaming sites, you can finally hop onto the bandwagon and experience real monsters in all of its glory. Judging by its name, it's not a secret that the show is about monsters, but it's not your regular heroes versus villains theme. In fact, the show is conceptually pretty unique. It highlights 4 monsters in particular, namely Ickis, Krumm, Oblina, and Gromble. They are young monsters attending a school for monsters called the Monster Academy, located under a city dump. That's where they learn to frighten humans. The monsters have exciting character designs that stay loyal to what Western animation stands for: exaggerated caricatures. Much of the show revolves around the best friends Ickis, Oblina, and Krumm coming to the surface from the city's dump and performing scares on people. This is funnily a part of their class assignment, and the monsters want to please the headmaster Gromble. Hearing things like this makes me regret my human status, because math was scarier than anything that a monster could ever be. I'd rather perform scares than be scared by the introduction of letters into my math syllabus. But this show hosts a variety of creative creatures, and in this video we're going to talk about 12 such grotesque and hilarious monsters in no particular order. So let's get down to it. Before we get into today's analysis, however, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small step for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks. Now, on with the video. Number 1. Ickis. Let's start with Ickis. He is one of the protagonists of Real Monsters. He has poor self-confidence and quite low self-esteem, making him the most relatable character for many. He is also very nervous and bears a heavy burden on his shoulders, having to live up to the legacy left behind by his father, the legendary monster Slickis, who was one of the most renowned students at Monster Academy. That, along with a bad case of identity crisis and people-pleasing tendencies, does not help this cute little monster. He has a cool, flashy ability. He grows in size and uses that to scare humans. Unfortunately for him, he is often confused with a bunny due to his large ears. He has a predominantly red magenta body with yellow eyes and lavender lips. He is extremely short as well. His feet are also shaped like that of an elf. You could say that he's not exactly a suitable candidate for scaring others, but his eyes do turn red, while his teeth can turn quite sharp, resembling fangs. Even though he has been honing his scaring skills before joining Monster Academy, the poor guy keeps getting the short end of the stick. He gets into trouble quite often, but Oblina and Krumm try to help him through his problems. He's always nervous and keeps losing his monster manual.
Look at how cute you are!
But he is far from being a teacher's pet. As bad as things might sound for him, he can turn into a terrifying monster when necessary, so one can never underestimate Ickis. He's got that underdog charm going on. Despite having an existential crisis all the time, he is also very supportive and encouraging as a friend. There's also something quite cool about Ickis that many of you might have forgotten. Ickis once read the Ultra Monster comic and decided to become a superhero. I guess that's like being the black sheep of the family when you're a monster. Ickis appeared in every episode of Real Monsters, as he is the main character. He first showed up in the episode entitled The Switching Hour. However, his final episode was a crossover episode with the Rugrats, entitled Ghost Story, which marked his last time on television.
What? They're just high.
Number 2. Krumm. Krumm is another very important character in Real Monsters. He wears the helm of the deuteragonist and is super good buds with Ickis himself. He is a very short, hairy monster and can be quite smelly, so you might want to give him good perfume. Actually, that's probably not a good idea. He lives with Ickis and Oblina and is often yelled at by Gromble. However, Oblina, being his only female monster friend, treats him very well. His skin color is orange tan, and he has a big nose with blue lips.
These things on each side of my mouth.
However, apart from this and his weird eyes, his other physical attributes can be quite normal, with 2 arms, 2 legs, and 5 toes on each foot. Now his scare tactic is quite interesting. He uses his detachable eyes that he holds in his hands. Maybe Mr. Potato Head from Toy Story took some inspiration from him. Funny how Toy Story was under Disney, while Real Monsters is under one of their competitors, Nickelodeon. He then juggles those eyeballs to take people by surprise. When combined with his terrible body odor, his skill set comes off as a pretty well-rounded one. This is why he would never accept your gift of perfume. However, Krumm is quite shy, which makes him contribute very little to his adventures, despite having a solid scare tactic. As strange as he might look, Krumm is timid and soft-spoken.
Here goes nothing. I can't find anything.
But he did star in a movie once.
That was beautiful!
On another interesting occasion, he contaminated a vat of perfume with his skunk-like stench. The detachable eyeballs serve more purpose than one. For starters, he can always keep an eye out for Ickis and Oblina, and this is easy business for him. He's a great friend, really. He's willing to go the extra mile by putting his eyeballs in his mouth to keep them safe, in case he needs to use his hands. You do not want to lose your eyes after all. Like Ickis, he has appeared in every episode of Real Monsters, except for Great Escape and Showdown. He made his first appearance in The Switching Hour. Additionally, like Ickis, his first appearance was The Switching Hour, while his last one was Ghost Story.
Put my foot down! I love to teach.
Number 3. The Gromble. Now, this is an interesting one. Initially, this was the main antagonist of Real Monsters, but the Gromble later went on to become more like an anti-hero as the cartoon progressed. He is intimidating and extremely strict, befitting the role of the headmaster of the Monster Academy.
All right, I'll talk, just don't pop me!
Every time his monster students display cases of poor scaring skills, he belittles them. But it really is a form of tough love. His skin is turquoise, and he has 2 blue flaps on his head that resemble the wings of a plane. With blue hair on his chin, pink eyes with black pupils, and a lumpy nose with a red hook, he has quite an interesting character design. He also has 4 legs, and he wears 4 red high-heeled shoes. Talk about a fashionable monster. Let's not forget his cool blue tail and the black gloves. What a creature of the night. During a severe incident of punishing one of his students, he actually ate one of the monsters in one bite. Ugh, Kronos moment. He then chewed him for a while before finally spitting him out instead of swallowing and digesting. He only did this to show how far he's willing to go to punish the poor little monsters. And I thought I had terrifying school teachers. Deep down, he does care about his students, and he wants everyone to reach their full potential, which is also why he keeps showing such tough love and pushing them to their limits. He can mold the cutest monsters into such terrifying creatures. Unfortunately, he plays favorites though, particularly with Oblina, because she is smart and at the top of her class. He wasn't always this terrifying though. You see, when he first started teaching at the Monster Academy, he was actually quite nervous and quiet. As you'd expect from any class that has a shy teacher, the monsters never stopped talking or lounging around, thinking that he was a pushover. The Gromble had to take matters into his own hands and silence the class with a loud and aggressive "Quiet!" to show them who really is the boss. His quiet side does come out every now and then, especially when he is alone or with his mother.
You love me, Mommy.
Also, the guy really loves to relax in bed and calls his shoes his snuggle bears. The Gromble has appeared in most of the episodes of the series, making his first appearance in The Switching Hour, while the episode Rookie Monsters was his last.
Those kids were vicious. I have half a mind to go back there and give them some of this.
Number 4. Oblina. Oblina first started out as the deuteragonist of the show, while Ickis was the protagonist, but as the show progressed, she went on to become the main character of the series. My good sister is out here, climbing the social ladder of success. Her upside-down black and white body is quite flexible, and her red lips and puffy white teeth are all crooked and spaced out. Braces are quite beneath her if you ask me. She also has serpentine eyes that are green with black slits. She takes great care of her hair and has 4 of them on her skinny head. Oblina never misses out on her appointments with the lash extensions. This reverse candy cane looking monster is roommates with Ickis and Krumm at the Monster Academy and is the brains of their trio. She is also very well behaved and hardworking, something that Ickis and Krumm cannot relate to. This is your stereotypical overachieving classmate. She treats Krumm very well, a little too well sometimes. Naturally, he thought that she had a crush on him, or in monster language, a squish on him. She is also Gromble's favorite student. Her family is a wealthy monster family, but don't let nepotism fool you. She is quite capable herself. She likes to scare humans by pulling out her internal organs, even though she is not super fond of doing this. Plus, she is ridiculously good at shapeshifting into various forms, and she can even change her color. She displays her fangs, and humans run away in fear. Oblina can also cause nightmares in humans, and she has a cool way of doing so. She sticks her fingers in their ears when they're sleeping and tickles their brains. No wonder Gromble liked her so much. On top of that, she loves to read and is quite pragmatic. She's the type of monster that other parents refer to when drawing comparisons with their own kids. Monsters get rich collecting toenails, and Oblina's family has more than enough of it. So Oblina lives in the lap of monster luxury. She's not spoiled per se. She is super helpful, and despite always bickering with Ickis, she goes on several adventures with him. She is always helping Ickis and Krumm when they ever get into trouble. And she's quick to remind you, who runs the world? Girls. She has appeared in most of the episodes of Real Monsters, with the first one, once again, being The Switching Hour. And, similar to Ickis and Krumm, her last episode was in Ghost Story, during the crossover with the Rugrats. She has appeared in every episode except two, namely Showdown and The Great Escape. Number 5. Slickis. Slickis is the father of Ickis. He is a legendary monster and the best student that the Monster Academy has ever seen. He is terrifying and super good at his job of scaring people. Similar to Oblina, he can shapeshift at will and change his color. Ickis actually got his bunny ears and maroon body from his father. Slickis looks like a Wish.com version of Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. He is taller though, and his ears are torn in many places. He has 2 arms, 2 legs, and a wide grin, which, once again, looks like it come from the Wish.com version of the Cheshire Cat. That said, he does have some pretty good teeth, so shout out to Slickis Dentist. But his lips, on the other hand, look like a botched filler job. He should have used Juvederm. Actually, being famous and all, he could have just contacted Kylie Jenner's guy. But well, he does need to be scary, so that might have been a problem. His feet are quite disproportionately big. His legacy is actually so revered that it becomes a problem for Ickis, who constantly has to live up to his legacy. Now, unlike Ickis, Krumm, Oblina, and even the Gromble, Slickis is a very minor character. He has appeared in only 5 episodes of Real Monsters, namely The Great Wave, Ship Off the Old Beast, History of the Monster World, Amulet of Enfarg, and finally, The 5 Faces of Ickis. Other episodes do mention him though, such as Rookie Monsters and Into the Woods.
Encore? Did you say encore?
Number 6. The Snorch. Now the Gromble, being the headmaster, has his minion, and that is the Snorch. He is one of the antagonists of the show, but he's not as important in the villain department as the Gromble. He is an academy disciplinarian. To be honest, all the school disciplinarians were the villains in my life as well, so sending hugs and kisses to the little monsters. And no, I am not talking about Lady Gaga's fanbase here. The Snorch is a total beast, and not a sexy one at that. He is massive and quite terrifying, which makes sense. He needs to keep all the monsters in check after all. He is always hanging around Zimbo, who is his right-hand monster man. He also acts as a mouthpiece for the Snorch, and is not as intimidating, so balance. His skin color is mustard yellowish. He has 2 red eyes, as well as 2 large tusks or fangs that protrude out of his mouth. Constantly in a state of fashion faux pas, the Snorch wears an olive green onesie, which has large dark purple spots. He can seriously scare the people of Vogue without doing anything. His outfit is that bad. Snorch gets his reports about misbehavior from Zimbo and hands out punishments accordingly. He has some weird punishments though. One of them was square dancing, while the other one was listening to human music, and in particular, soprano opera. I guess monsters would have preferred heavy metal if they wanted to find human music that they'd actually like. He speaks gibberish. Actually, his speech is nothing but vocal sound effects. So, he needs Zimbo at all times to act as his assistant as well as translator. Now you might think that he's like any other school bully, because he's big and stupid. Think Buford from Phineas and Ferb. But once, he overheard Oblina complain about Ickis and Krumm being dumb. The Snorch actually wanted to befriend her after that, because he wanted intellectual stimulation. Maybe he's a smart guy after all. Who knows? He can be quite the philosopher. Once, he volunteered for a voice box, with which he could speak English. In that episode, however, he did display his philosophical side to the class. He was asked what the great monster philosopher meant with the quote, "To err is human, to scare divine." The Snorch explained how scaring is a part of monsterkind's history, and the very essence of their soul. However, he is melancholic, as he thinks his life is tragic because he has not scared very many people. It's okay, Snorch. I'm sure Shakespeare would love you, and make you the main character of one of his plays. The Snorch has made many appearances in the series, and debuted in The Switching Hour, alongside most of the other monsters.
You won't mind some company.
Look, it's a...
Number 7. Bomble. Gromble got a new baby nephew named Bomble. He is Mama Gromble's second grandson. He's probably the son of Gromble's unnamed sister, because we can't recall Gromble mentioning any other siblings. Bomble looks quite different than Gromble, and in fact, he looks different than the rest of his family as well. He has purple skin with pink lips and sharp teeth. He looks like a mix of Davy Jones, Lord Voldemort, and Ultron, primarily because, well, he has no nose. Mark of a true villain. Well, he might grow one later, so who knows? He also has side flaps, just like the rest of his family. Although, even though the rest of the family has 4 legs, Bomble has only 2.
He certainly does have energy.
Maybe he's an illegitimate child. Bomble's mother spilled the tea. Well, no, his flaps are quite similar to Gromble's. Gromble tries to babysit Bomble, but that turns out to be an overly exhausting endeavor for him. Sometimes he leaves Bomble with Ickis, Oblina, and Krumm, which really annoys them because they just wanted to go out in the afternoon, but are now stuck watching a baby monster. He made his first appearance in the episode just mentioned, Baby It's You. There, the trio did something really dumb when they take Bomble to a human hospital. They just want to eat garbage, but while doing so, they get distracted and take a human baby instead, losing Bomble in the process. Meanwhile, the human baby's parents take Bomble.
I love him so much.
Bomble goes to the human house and eats and destroys everything. The human parents eventually put him in a cage, thanks to his wild anger and appetite. The trio do manage to track him down though, and with Krumm's help, get him out of the cage, and they switch the babies before going back to the dump. Gromble sees his nephew and is pleased by the good behavior, but when Bomble burps out a camera, well, Gromble got rather suspicious. He soon shrugged it off though. Bomble liked to bite Gromble as well, as seen in the episode itself, where he bit Gromble's arm with his teeth while he was leaving.
Kid, you're either nuts or a lot tougher than you look.
Oh, yeah? Well, either way, you lose.
Number 8. Pugh. Pugh is an older student attending the Monster Academy. He is not a very important character though, having only made 1 appearance. He was a bit of an elitist in some ways. He thought the Monster Academy was for losers, and he preferred to hang out with the delinquent monsters, to just bully the other students and loaf around. He was tall and had orange hair. He also had curly-toed feet, and very prominent buck teeth. Ickis was one of his favorite victims. Poor Ickis.
Sure, I'll work on it.
But he did have some morals though. When Ickis stood up to him, Pugh actually offered him a membership to join his gang, which Ickis accepted. He then began to hang out with Pugh and the bullies, and stopped attending classes altogether. As we mentioned before, he only appeared in the series for 1 episode, entitled Don't Just Do It. Quite an anti-Nike marketing campaign if you ask us. Although he was a bully, Pugh was all talk though, just like every other bully, and he wasn't very good with scaring either. In Don't Just Do It, he goes to the top side with Ickis for a scare. Here's some interesting monster biology for you guys. Monsters cannot breathe well due to the abundance of oxygen in human air, so they had to fill their air sacs with noxious air every time they went out for a scare. Ickis asks Pugh if he had filled his sacs with the noxious air, but Pugh, being over smart and arrogant, tells Ickis that of course he had. It obviously turns out to be a problem during their adventure. He's had to rely on younger monster students on other occasions as well, and it's a lesson for everyone to stay in school, eat your vegetables, and don't do drugs. While trying to pursue the baker Jacques after a scare, Pugh is unable to chase after him because he can't breathe, and basically becomes dead weight for Ickis, and soon collapses. In the end, after being pursued not just by Jacques, but by other monsters as well, Ickis saves him by sharing some air from his own sac. After that, Ickis advises Pugh to join Gromble's class. The both of them just end up getting punished for going above ground without permission. Pugh is given multiple snorchings, detentions, and even has to walk through a field of flowers. But because he has potential, Gromble lets him enroll in his class.
Funny Zimbo truly cares about your snotchy puddings.
Number 9. Zimbo. Now, we've already mentioned Zimbo by talking about the Snorch. Zimbo is his partner, constant companion, right-hand monster, assistant, and translator. He is also the only monster who can understand the gibberish that the Snorch speaks. He also doesn't really treat the students very nicely, but is pretty decent with Gromble. Zimbo looks quite like a bee, and he can fly. His skin color is tan, one of his legs has brown stripes, and he also has green hair, a large nose, and 4 wings. Instead of helping out with the schoolwork, he has an affinity for the hot gossip. He likes spreading rumors and making up stories. He is actually much more like a troublemaker. He also likes to see others being tormented by Snorch's punishments, so he's quite a bully if you ask me. He flies around the sewers, looking for troublemakers, and reports them to whoever's in charge, but primarily the Snorch. Ickis, Oblina, and Krumm are literally his enemies. During an episode entitled "I Heard the Snorch Call My Name," the Snorch expressed his interest in wanting to befriend Oblina. Zimbo got super jealous and took great joy in the fact that without using the voice box, he could never be friends with Oblina. Talk about a toxic friendship. Zimbo has appeared in several episodes of Real Monsters and made his first appearance in the debut The Switching Hour. One of his biggest roles was in Side by Side, in which he had to scare people alongside Ickis.
A woodchuck?
Oh, no, sorry, jumped the gun there on that one. A chainsaw! A chainsaw!
Number 10. The Library Monster. The Monster Academy has a library with a librarian, and that's where the library monster comes into play. She is unaware of her abilities though, and maybe that's why she took up the job of librarian and does not partake in scaring humans. Overall, her behavior is quite positive, unlike the Snorch and Gromble. She is tall and has pink flesh. She also has 2 long arms, 4 stout legs, and 3 eyes on stalks. She holds a film reel running through her head using 2 large appendages that branch out from the sides of her head. She uses that reel to display on-screen images in her face. Her pockets are quite fleshy as well, allowing her to hold books. In total, the library monster has only appeared in 4 episodes, namely Attack of the Blobs, where she is seen when Ickis goes to ask her for information about the Blarp, Krumm Gets the Dreaded No-Locks, where she helps Ickis and Oblina with Krumm's hiccuping condition. In the episode Monster Who Came In From the Cold, she shows Oblina a monster training film, and her final appearance in Puppy Chow, in which Fungus knocks her off of a ladder.
Hey kids, what does Murray the Monster say?
Monsters are people too!
Number 11. Murray. This is the first and final human entry in this list full of monsters. You might be wondering why we chose to talk about a human here. Well, this guy uses the alias Murray the Monster. It is an act though. He does this to sell character merchandise. He dresses up as this monster and sells toys and plush dolls of Murray the Monster. Murray's monster attire shows him in a purple outfit, which is quite unique with its webbed hands and fish-like appearance. He also wears a bow tie and has numerous legs with a tail. His lips are blue and his eyes are golden, and he has head bumps as well. This is a very stereotypical aquatic monster getup. Think Creature from the Black Lagoon. He only appears in 2 episodes, Monsters Don't Dance and Simon Strikes Back. In the former, Murray catches the attention of the real monsters who find his act offensive. Ickis, Oblina, and Krumm approach him and tap into his brain using lobotomy-styled implementation to frighten him.
Hey kids, bet you can't wait to get a Murray doll.
I hate those.
He gets a fear of monsters and ultimately stops playing pretend monster. As we mentioned, he later goes on to appear on the episode Simon Strikes Back, in which he appears in a talk show to talk about his experiences. He is featured alongside self-proclaimed monster hunter Simon and other guests such as Bradley and the traumatized mental patient Dawn. When he is not dressed up as Murray the Monster, he's just a regular guy, brown hair and a thin mustache. Number Number 12. Borl. This young monster attends the Monster Academy. He has 2 horns with 1 eye, quite cycloptic, and is pink in color. For some weird reason, he has 2 uvulas, which is strange considering that he rarely ever speaks. Our thoughts is that 2 uvulas impedes his speech. He is currently enrolled in Gromble's program, along with the other monsters. His horns are tan, while his tongue is a darker pink than the rest of his body. Each of his hands have 3 fingers only. Being just a minor character, Borl does not have a lot of screen time. He appears in many episodes though, but more often than not, he's just a background character and has no lines. I mean, as long as the acting paycheck comes through, it should be fine for Borl. Similar to most of the monsters on this list, Borl first appeared in The Switching Hour. His last appearance, however, was in the episode entitled Rookie Monsters. Despite being in the background almost all the time, he did play a major role twice in the series. Once in the episode Krumm Gets Ahead, and the other being You Only Scare Twice. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to send a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. For marvelous videos, I'm Rylan. Have a good one, and be safe.